summary of federal service, you've signed it. But it doesn't appear to have a signature from, an official signature from the department. Is that true?
There's no signature there. Those are papers that were given to me when I signed for my retirement. And so whatever copies, I guess after I signed, they gave me copies of them.
Is a document like this a certified copy if it is unsigned by the department?
The actual personnel action are the certified copies here that are signed by.
Those are different forms. I'm talking about that specific document.
They're the most important forms because they're the actual, this is the Form 52, so it's the most important ones that state the retirement as a LEO. This one form does not have a signature, but
So
the others do.
Is it certified without a signature?
I don't know whether that's certified or not. That's the copy that was given to me as I was doing my retirement.
Okay. The other form you just mentioned indicates that you were a law enforcement officer and a firefighter.
No, it does not. What it states is I fall under the category of retirement under LEO/firefighter. Firefighters also have the same type of retirement as law enforcement officers do, in that they have additional benefits because of the risk and hazard of the job they have.
Did Brad Eskridge get these documents for you, or did you get them yourself?
Those are documents that I had in my file from retiring, when I retired, to be able to, in case I ever needed them.
And so you have a file of documents?
The documents I provided are the ones that I provided.
Are
The
those
most
the-
significant ones is what I kept.
Most significant ones. So there
Is
are
what I
other-
kept.
So there are other documents in the file?
No. The ones that I kept were the most significant documents that I felt in case I ever needed, that were actually just tucked away after I retired, and they were in envelopes, and I pulled them out when you requested them.
Aside from the credentials, these are the most important.
Correct.
Okay. All right. I asked you in Interrogatory 2, here's this again, by the way, back to that letter. I asked you in Interrogatory 2 if you would list any and all individuals that might have admissible information about your credentials, and you gave me 4 names: Eskridge, Whitman, Pisano, and Peel. But after talking to you, it seems there are quite a few people who might have admissible evidence who could collaborate that you're indeed a law enforcement officer. You gave me 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14, 15 supervisors. They could all have admissible evidence to verify your law enforcement career, couldn't they?
Object to the form.
I'm sure they can.
And so why didn't you list their names in the interrogatory?
The documents I provided speak for themselves for my retirement, federal law enforcement, and I believe the individuals that can speak to having seen my credentials and qualified me as a retired law enforcement officer are the best to go ahead and speak to this.
Okay, so when I ask you in an interrogatory or a request for production for any and all, you are deciding only to send ones that you think are important and to omit the others.
Object to the form.
The any and all are the ones that will be utilized, not any and all.
Did
that
any,
know.
did any and all,
There are thousands of people that know my law enforcement status.
but you only listed 4?
The question in interrogatory 2 states, please identify all persons who you believe may have discoverable information relevant to this complaint and describe the nature of the information possessed by such persons. If you're going to ask the question about the interrogatory, please let him either see the question or ask something related to the question.
I guess I'm asking why you didn't name anybody else.
Because that's all I needed to name in regards to this case that I'm going to be pushing forward with.
But there are others. You just didn't put them in there. Correct.
The way I read the question was, who would be providing proof to this, and that's who I put down.
Okay. We'll go over some of these, some of the interrogatories. Before I get to that, do you recall May 30th when we sat in front of Judge Fenton for my motion to dismiss?
Yes.
In the motion to dismiss, these are the transcripts, and I'll show them to you and enter it. In the transcripts, you said, I'll just ask you to read two sentences, starting here, just two sentences. He
continued with the matter and the reckless disregard for the truth. He requested information from the personal office, having received the information directly to him on January 26th, telling him specifically of my employment date. He chose to disregard that. At that point, it made for malice.
Now, you say that I requested information from the personnel office and received it. What information did I receive from a personnel office?
Betty Pacino works for personnel with the Federal Bureau of Prisons.
And is that the same as the Consolidated Benefits Office?
Yes, that is personnel.
That is personnel. They're the ones who do all employment verification?
No, they are one branch of the personnel office. They handle the retirements at the end of the career.
That's the unit that it's unusual to give employment verification, but they did it
Not
this time.
necessarily, no.
Okay.
If somebody were purchasing a home and called Brad Estridge to verify employment, and he could expedite the matter by giving public information, he would do that.
Okay. I'm gonna reach over for my interrogatories.
I'm sorry, are we marking that or the credential documents?
Yes.
As exhibits?
Yes, please.
But the credentials one before that, did you want to mark that? Where you asked if it was certified or not?
Yes.
Oh, I'm sorry, not credentials, the certification.
Yes.
The retirement paperwork.
When I asked if an unsigned
The retired
document
docs.
is certified, yes. So it would
Yes,
be
sir.
these, would be of these 4 sheets.
Okay.
That's-
4 or 5 sheets there.
6, and then the transcript would be 7.
Okay. All right, these are your answers to the interrogatories that I'm looking at. And in here, you had mentioned that you had shown PCB Police Chief Drew Whitman your credentials.
Correct.
And these are the credentials that I still have not seen, correct?
Yes.
Does Chief Whitman, does he answer to you as a city councilman?
No.
Does he answer to City Manager Mario Gisbert?
Yes.
So the chain of command is the chief answers to City Manager Mario Gisbert.
Yes.
Does Mario Gisbert, the city manager, answer to the city council?
Yes.
So Chief Whitman, the chain of command is Chief Whitman answers to the guy who answers to you.
Yes.
Okay. I asked you in the interrogatories to please list number 10, interrogatory 10, I'll submit it, that I asked and you answered. Please list any and all educational documents, certificates, diplomas, or degrees that you've received, including but not limited to high school, trade schools, professional licensing, government training, college, universities, or anywhere else. And you said that you had quite a few here, beginning with your high school diploma. I'll start with that one. But in the request for production, you said there were no responsive documents. So you have all of these, but you don't have your hands on any of them?
No, I don't have any need for it. I'm retired.
You know, on my wall of my office, I've got several, and most people do, who've been in the military or law enforcement. You don't have access to any of those.
No, I mean, it's common that people have what they call a love me wall. It's not anything that I ever decided I wanted to do.
Okay.
So when I retired and we moved and we downgraded from a huge house to come to a condo on the beach, everything that was not relevant anymore went by the wayside, you know, and or is packed up in boxes that have been in storage for years, but I don't recall keeping any of those things.
So you might have access to these, you just don't have them lying around, correct?
I would doubt that I have any of them. If there's something stuck somewhere, I don't know.
The last time you and I went in front of Judge Fensom said if a document exists that you can go get, we need to go get them. And would high school diploma count? Are you able to call the high school and have it sent to you?
I don't believe it's my job to have to go after things that I don't have in my possession.
Mr. Dan Matthews, is that what you're advising him, or is he saying that on his own?
I'm not advising him of anything right now. He just told you that he didn't believe it was his job to call the high school to get his
And
diploma.
as his attorney, do you agree with that?
I'm not on deposition. On my deposition, can't ask me questions.
Fair. We'll certainly end up asking the judge, I suppose.
What's the question you're asking?
I'm asking him if he's able to call his high school and get his hands on that
You
diploma.
can ask him the question.
Yeah.
You can't ask me the question. I'm not the one being deposed, so.
Councilman Hector Solis, can you call your high school and get a copy of your high school diploma?
I'm sure it's possible.
Where'd you go to high school?
I went to two high schools, West Side High School in Gary, Indiana, and then I graduated from Gavitt High School in Hammond, Indiana.
And what year did you graduate?
That would be 1981.
Okay. And they would have your diploma on record, I suppose.
I suppose.
Okay. You go on to list several certifications. Electrical journeyman certification, where did you receive that?
That would have been through the state of Texas.
And was it a school you went to?
No, you don't go, there were no labor unions involved, so you go through a process of working for a company, and then you apply to take your journeyman electrician's license.
Federal Bureau of Prison Certificate of Graduation, is that the academy we talked about, the 3-week class you took?
Yes.
Certificate of Exception?
Now, were there not any certificates given to you?
No.
I would have to re-look, because I thought there was a certificate from Glencoe.
According to the number 10, answers to production, you say there are no responsive documents.
You asked trainings, like I said, I don't recall right now, but I do believe there is a Glencoe graduation certificate. If I did provide it, I can provide it easily.
Okay.
I believe seeing that.
Here's what I asked. I'll ask you to read it, just a short sentence. Number 10. This was request for production. What did I ask for?
You asked for a list of all educational documents, diplomas, and I gave you a list.
That's actually for production. I asked for.
No. You said a list of all educational documents, diplomas, certificate, degrees plaintiff has attained, including but not limited to high school, and I gave you a list.
And what was your answer? The last sentence. And it's on the other page. The last sentence. Answer to number 10.
On that one, it says plaintiff has no responsive documents, because I don't have a list that I created. Besides,
And you don't have any physical documents of any of these certificates either.
that didn't ask for the physical documents.
Do you have any?
It asked for a list if I
Let
had.
him finish his question.
Do you have any of these 27 or so diplomas or certificates that you can show? Or do we just take your word for it?
Like I said, I believe I have the FLETC graduation.
The 3-week course?
Correct.
Okay. And you'll provide that?
Sure. If it hasn't already been provided.
But not the, but you don't want to provide the credentials that you showed Chief Whitman and Mr. Peel?
I actually do not have my credentials on me right now.
But you'd be willing to show me?
We'd be willing to discuss it subject to a protective order that agreed on by both parties.
Okay,
So
very good.
That, I mean, I know you've gone to that. You and I can discuss that afterwards,
okay.
and so we don't have to keep
Okay,
going over.
well, thank you. All right. All right, in your complaint, yes, there you are. And I mentioned number 10. Is what I mentioned.
Number 7. Transcript.
Oh, there you go, sorry, there you go. All right, and, in your complaint, number 11,
So are we talking about the amended complaint or the complaint?
the amended complaint, the latest one, thank you. It talks in here about when you are a law enforcement officer for the federal prisons. You say as part of, I probably should let you read it out of appropriateness. Will you just read the underlined part? This is number 11 in your complaint.
As part of his federal law enforcement career, having been involved in numerous emergency situations, he saw.
Okay, so you saw many emergency situations as a law enforcement officer
Yes.
in your career. What would be an emergency situation? What would it look like? What would be an example?
There are many. There's assaults on staff, assaults on inmates, stabbings, assaults that led to death, suicides, gang riots, introduction of contraband, drugs, weapons, runs the gamut.
Are there any individuals that you know that could corroborate your involvement in these emergency situations?
Yes.
What are their names?
One will be actually a witness, Brad Eskridge, as he worked side by side with me and we responded to many emergencies together.
This is the same Brad Eskridge who wrote your letter of verification.
Yes, it is.
And this is the same Brad Eskridge who was involved with you in the union respondent
Yes.
situation? Okay. Is there anybody else other than your friend Brad Eskridge?
Melvin Ramos, or Rick Ramos.
Rick Ramos?
He worked at one of the institutions with me.
Does Rick Ramos live in Panama City Beach now?
He does.
Does he go to the city council meetings?
He does.
Does he know you well?
He does. He's my best friend.
He's your best friend.
He's my best friend.
And did you just appoint him on a board?
I did.
What was that board?
The Parks and Recreation Board.
And you don't find that to be a conflict of interest, though?
No.
Okay. So Rick Ramos knows about he's somebody who can certainly collaborate.
I recruited him into the Bureau of Prisons.
And would he be somebody that maybe we could have listed in interrogatory number 2 as one of the individuals who could have admissible evidence? We just left him out?
Once again, I listed those that I thought would be providing testimony.
Not any at
And
all?
Mr. Ramos may be providing testimony. Who knows?
But he's intimately familiar with your law enforcement career.
Yes, he is.
And he has posted on Facebook and come to your defense. Is that correct?
I'm not sure what exactly you mean.
In your complaint, number 24, I'll have you read the complaint 24, starting at some, just one sentence.
Some who knew Solis commented the date was incorrect and posted when he actually retired.
Speaking of the date on the Brad Eskridge letter, that was actually Brad Eskridge's retirement date.
Correct.
Okay, and so this is the same Rick Ramos who posted on Facebook the correct date.
Correct. He was at my retirement party.
Let's take a look at that post that you speak of. This is the Facebook post, and your best friend, Rick Ramos, who's intimately familiar with your law enforcement career, he wanted to correct everybody, and will you read the highlighted portion? What date did he say you retired?
He said, but just to the story right, Hector retired January 31st, 2013.
January 31st, 2013. Is that when you retired?
No, actually it's not.
This is another incorrect date?
Probably.
Well, certainly. So your best friend doesn't even know the date you retired?
He was probably going from his memory, and maybe his memory failed him. He knew he was at my retirement party, and he knew it was in January, and
So far we have Brad Eskridge, one of your witnesses, gave an incorrect date. Your best friend gave an incorrect date, and you give yet another date. Which date is the correct date that you retired?
the one that I gave you in the SF 52 that you have on my retirement documents is the correct date.
And what date is that?
All these dates go around. It was December, if I'm not mistaken, December 28, 2014. But I have to look at
So
that
you-
just to recall it.
So you retired December 28, 2014.
Like I said, until I actually see my paperwork, I'll have to look at that, but I believe that's the correct date.
Okay.
You have the document from Betty Pacino that gave the actual date.
But you don't know the date you retired, right now.
I don't have it in front of me, but I believe it's December 28, 2014.
So you say that you retired December 28, 2014. Your best friend Rick Ramos says you retired January 31st, 2013. And your chief witness, Brad Eskridge, says you retired December 28, 2013. Which of those dates is correct?
The date that's been provided to you by Betty Pacino and the actual retirement documents you've been given.
Okay.
And what's in whatever answer I gave you on your paperwork that's right in front of you.
Okay. There's a lot of dates, aren't there?
Not really. I don't expect, my friend to remember the exact date of what my retirement would have been. Just because I had a retirement party doesn't mean he's gonna know exactly what the retirement date was.
Especially when you don't remember right now.
Exactly. After you retire after 4 or 5 years,
Time
you
flies
start
by.
wondering, is it 14, 13,
Yeah.
end of the year? Yeah,
It's easy to wonder about your retirement date, isn't it?
not really.